evening. I am Abhinav Gupta. I am the regional manager for Schueco India. So, sir, it's a privilege to have shared the seat with you on this occasion, and I will especially thank the Pranav Door and Studio Audit team to make this happen. Uh, so, one thing, the first thing that comes to my mind when I'm sitting with an architect is aesthetics is the very important aspect of your designs. So, how do you incorporate aesthetics along with the facades? I mean, the glass facades, the maybe brick facades, and all the other materials. So, what comes into your mind while designing like a multi-utility facade?
So multi-utility, because end of the day, buildings are like machines.
Yeah.
So they have to, and technically all the windows are the eyes of the building.
Yeah.
That's the way you see it. So yes, aesthetics is important. At the same time, like off late, like earlier architects didn't had those kind of window systems which we have access to right now.
Yeah.
End of the day, earlier there was a time where people started making windows in metal sections, wooden sections, which had their own challenges. And now I think industry has moved forward to embrace totally like aluminum window systems. Yeah. So it is more about like now we need more functionalities in terms of now we are making buildings as more robust machines. More robust machines which we always inflow in terms of how much oxygen it needs, how much. So end of the day, now it has become more like an organism which needs so much of oxygen. It needs to take away so much. So then, so when it is more about precision and it is about having it. So similarly, like the materials are also because the amount of available dust that is available. So end of the day, aesthetics does its part. At the same time, if we need to have a lasting design, it needs to be functional and it needs to be resilient with times. In terms of then that's when like you need to have right systems for windows, right system for facade systems, ventilated facade systems. So everything falls into place. So aesthetics is yes, it is. That's how everything. That's how it's like whatever you are making as a building, you are adding to the city skyline or the cityscape. End of the day, like even there are the economies like even like Middle Eastern countries where they even ask you which, because we still in a developing economy, we talk about okay, it's still fine to make an ugly looking building where if there's budget issues. But there are cities where it is not allowed. Let's say like for example, we had a presentation in Dubai where we're doing a project in Sharjah, where we presented and they said, okay, if these are the bylaws, but if you're adding more value to the city, we can consider giving you few things extra. Oh. So how things are changing, because this is a law, but you're adding some value to us. You're making our city more beautiful. Yes, and we can discuss and work out what things you need to make it more beautiful. So we are in that kind of evolving terms where the aesthetic of a building in a city, I think, is at its highest importance stage. And it only happened like during the time where rulers used to make buildings to a point where the economies are making, people are making buildings. The city needs to accept it.
Right. So, what is your consideration on the building? Like, you want a more of a lightened building from inside, or you want more of a kind of dynamic facade, or how is the thought? I mean, or it depends on project to project basis.
Basically, it is more about purpose. For example, even when we did this building, so we the idea of having a certain screen, a gentle screen, was also to do with we had this row of buildings which were like stark white. Though it was when we thought about okay, it's a northeast facade, we just want to keep glass. We don't want to keep too many elements. But when the construction started happening and we started coming to this place, then we realized that though there is it is northeast facing because of this huge wall white, which is so there is a lot of unwanted glare that is coming from the building.
Oh, yeah.
So somehow we need to cut that particular glare, which is too much stark into your eyes, and it's too much stark. So to make it more comfortable, then we thought like in some areas we can add the screen, and then the whole idea of screen, how we can evolve it, has come. So mostly like when we do our projects, we don't have any preconceptions about what.
Yeah.
And glare is something which is a byproduct of doing something else.
Yeah.
And to cut it, like, yes, there would be shades, and like, for example, in some places, there was, like in this case, we have used a kind of petals that have cut in glare. But in some cases where the glare was too strong, sometimes even greenery would do to cut off the
Yeah.
glare and to help it. So it's again a very specific thing, and again, the whole idea is to make things more comfortable for people. And even going forward also, when we do different projects, it's always about, sometimes even an architectural element can cut it off, because there are been some buildings where we used concrete fascia to cut off the glare from the
Very
inside.
well said, sir. So, coming to the next thing that comes into my mind is, as Schueco, we are always thriving to design, more and more products, build more and more systems. So, any recommendations that you have that gives you a thought कि ऐसा होता तो कुछ change हो जाता. So, is there something which comes into your mind कि ये नहीं possible हो रहा है अभी? अगर ऐसा हो जाता तो.
I think it is the only thing what there are few things which we look at it right now is about, now there is all of a sudden there is more affinity about curved spaces.
Yeah.
Spaces which are, and so curved spaces, and specifically when we talk about curved spaces, curved windows, and in let's say in aluminium, so it is not like as easy as we would want it to be, because there are a lot of, yes, it's not that few companies are not doing it, there's some few of them are doing it, but in certain limitations in terms of. But now because when we talk about because to make a curved brick wall or a concrete wall or a curved metal structure is very easy. The moment we say about when we have to have like random shaped windows, which was very easier at a time when we were doing, like, let's say, in just metal or any other thing. But now as system windows, somewhere if this can evolve in a point where, okay, if I can give you any kind of random shape, if you can say that, okay, this is the thing and we have systems developed for it, we can provide those particular windows. That is one subject which I think, like, probably there could be a lot of scope in it. And other thing what I would talk about is specifically off late there are because at least in the markets where we work, there is certain attention to be given at the endings of the window systems and to the joinery surfaces, because there is a lot of ingress of, let's say, sound which happens. And most of the time, as of now, I think as an industry we have moved towards different kind of sealants to do it. But if there is more but the sealants mostly are from a point of view for rejecting water,
Right.
but they are not primarily designed to reject sound.
Right. Right.
So if we can, because there have been cases where we have been also been talking with Pranav, where we saw a situation where there are certain materials available at an acoustical domain, where, or a certain kind of joineries which can also let what your window is doing to the ecosystem around the window.
Exactly.
Now, like, if I talk about sound, it is not leaking through the window, but is leaking through the edges.
Correct.
So it's like I have something very nice system, but it is leaking everywhere.
Yeah.
If that can be like worked out, it will be a lot of help for us. And
of course, sound insulation has always been an important factor while designing the facade systems.
Because there have been some cases where it is about like having like rebates, concrete rebates in windows. But when we have concrete rebates in windows, but people are used to seeing windows which are flushed into frames. So when I create a deliberate rebate, the system doesn't allow me to provide a handle at another place.
Right.
Because the system is not imagining that I would create a concrete rebate to put in a window just to cut the sound.
Of course. Yeah.
So that is one issue where I can't, because the system is not giving me that flexibility. If in the future, because when we have to create better insulated, sound insulated homes, it becomes very important.
Of course. And sound is something which is, developing as of now, and वो day by day बढ़ता ही जा रहा है. And we have many road facing homes, and on the road it's a lot of sound. And also Aero City, जैसे अगर हम मोहाली की बात करें तो Aero City is one of the developing areas जहाँ पर flights का बहुत sound होता है.
Yes, and in
So
fact, even like places like Vasant Vihar in Delhi,
yeah,
where they are one of the most expensive plots in the country in the neighborhoods,
yeah,
but they happen to be in the flying zone.
mm.
So there is also about a lot of when there are flights, there have been cases where they're like flanking is happening, where
Oh,
there is like a lot of collecting. So it is acting like a diaphragm. The entire window is acting like a diaphragm and creating multiple noise on the inside.
right,
So those are challenges where like you have the best of the people living there, but unfortunately, because the kind of energy that is being thrown in form of sound, we are unable to dissipate it or to deal around with
yeah,
it.
correct. So even if we have the solution, we don't have the pocket to pay for it at every occasion. So that's also one of the concerns, I believe.
Yes, I think, but many a times, like yes, but there could be like, for example, like how you have windows at every price point.
Yeah,
So it could also be a solution, not as effective, but addressable
yeah,
at every price point. Today, if I say, okay, I have a 3 meter by 3 meter opening, I want a window in it. You have 10 different solutions, and not every solution is costing the same. If each one is
of
coming at a
course,
different technology and a price point.
of course.
But you're also catering to, for example, the broader spectrum because of the product diversity you have.
Yeah,
Similarly, if these kind of solutions can be diversified, made inclusive across different, like there are window systems, different window systems, if these kind of solutions are also available at different window systems in some way or the other,
yeah.
it could help
So
you.
point taken, sir. Uh, so while your firm, you have a big firm, you have a lot of projects. So I would like to learn a bit about how you manage multiple projects at a time and what exactly is the idea behind project management and people handling.
I think we learned because like we always consider ourselves as a design company
Yeah,
because we have gone through the phase of being like a practice, like a design practice, like a boutique practice, now to a point where we have slightly scaled up to become a design company
mm,
in the process of it. So it becomes like what we considered as design and like management becomes very important part of it. So for that, we have certain systems deployed in place which are helping up to meet this particular expectations. Because sometimes if you're working in a 5 people organization, 6 people organization, most of the thing is direct. Like
yeah,
my consultant always tells me like, okay, there are like 5 kinds of organizations. One is like from a Zeus organization to Apollo organization. The
yeah,
Zeus organization where one person is taking all the decisions is like the god,
yeah,
and everybody is just following it.
yeah,
To a point, an extreme end as an Apollo organization. It's something like uh, a very vague example would be Government of India, where everything is dealt by the position, not by the person.
yeah,
Today, if we have any person at any position, the system is designed in such a way that everybody can perform and make the country run. So irrespective of what happens in the elections, what happens, everything has a place in systems and backups in place which can function and it does not create into a situation where there is a crisis. So I think probably this is the best example, like
yeah,
how
of
the
course,
government of India runs, where
of course.
everything is based on a position, not on a person. So everybody, right from at every level of civil service, would have certain powers and certain discretions, and everything works around. So that is so we at this particular level we're still working on basic things where things could be optimized and there could be communication handled in a certain way. There could be projects and we use different kind of, like today there is so much of tools that have been available thanks to the software industry where it talks about consulting organizations also, and they have like lots of tools, and we slowly adapt those tools, different tools that we work on, and those are tools which are good for smaller companies, which are good for scaling. For example, Zoho has quite a lot of tools that can help you to build it, but it's about constantly evolving and constantly understanding the needs of organization and seeing where we can
Yeah,
contribute.
of course. I think I have learned something from out of it, sir. And really, I would like to thank you for that. Uh, हमारे पास मेरे पास questions इतने हैं, I'm so excited कि it can go on for hours, but I think we will be short of time very soon. So I really want to thank the entire Pranav Dose and Studio Arte team to make this happen, and we are sitting besides and talking about uh, developments in the industry. So thanks for your time. Thank you so much for your time, and the entire Studio Arte team. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you
Pranav,
so
too,
much.
and thank you for
Thank you.
having us.